everybody, welcome back to the Culture Corner podcast. I am your host, Amelia Perez. Thank you so much for coming back to me and coming back to the channel. I got something special, something a little juicy for you guys today. Why? Because I just feel like being, somebody who's talking about la farandula, as we call it in Spanish. So pretty much, the show business, celebrity gossip, and what everybody's talking about right now. So the biggest story I feel like everyone's talking about right now is Jada Pinkett Smith. And her bombs that she is dropping on her in her memoir called Worthy, which just dropped 3 days ago on October 17th. Feel free to go cop that. Free publicity, Jada. Go ahead and cop the book if you're interested. But here, I'm going to give you a little bit of the short notes, a little bit of the short version of some of the things that she is saying in her book, as well as a little side commentary from myself about these revelations. Why is Jada doing this to Will? That's my biggest thing. Like, as a Will Smith fan, as a Tupac fan, right now I'm just kind of like, Jada, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. I don't know if it's the Oscars thing. I don't know if it's the August Alsina stuff and the entanglement stuff that was revealed back in 2021. I don't know. But I'm just a little bit over Jada a little bit. I don't know if it's the red table talk. I don't know what it is. But, this subject caught my eye just because, I love Will. And I don't like the way she's doing my man's. From outside looking in, that's what it feels like. It's like, damn, why you keep dragging my man in the mud? And maybe she's not even doing that, but that's kind of what it feels like to me. I love Will Smith. I love The Fresh Prince. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was one of my favorite shows growing up. It's one of my top 3, top 5 for sure. And, he's just such a cool dude. And I don't like that he received a lot of the consequence and he's still receiving a lot of the negative backlash from the Oscars thing and just how he felt like he had to stand up for his wife. So, why am I doing this topic? Like I said, I'm a big Will Smith fan. I feel like he's an icon. I feel like just like Tom Cruise is in his own right, Will Smith in his own right is just he's somebody that could carry a film, carry a franchise, and was doing it before anybody else was doing it really, or very few people were doing it. Definitely black brothers weren't doing it like Will Smith did it. Will Smith is in so many iconic movies, Independence Day, The Pursuit of Happiness, Bad Boys, just like say he's a Fresh Prince. I mean, it's just, I feel like he's had a great career, and his tumble from grace right now, as a fan, it doesn't sit well with me, and I hope that people will come back around to realizing that it's not like he beat up Chris Rock. Like, I get that he slapped him and he shouldn't have done that for sure, but a 10-year ban on the Academy and being able to attend Academy functions, I don't know. I just feel like that's a little bit excessive. But it is what it is, and that's what's going on right now. But that was my main reason to do this topic, right? I mean, I'm curious to what Jada has said about not only the Chris Rock situation, but about her relationship with Will. So one of the few things, I'm going to go over a couple of things that I found very interesting that she talked about in her memoir. Number one, I find it kind of crazy, interesting, I should say, that she admitted, she's gone on record admitting that she thought that the slap was a skit, and if you see her reaction, I don't know. Do you buy that? Do you not buy that? I don't know. But she says she thought it was a skit. Interestingly enough, the 2022 Oscars was the second time that Chris Rock had made jokes about her alopecia, right? And I guess, as we all know, Will Smith wasn't having it and slapped the shit out of Chris Rock, and that started the whole shitstorm. Another interesting thing that she talks about, a little anecdote that she gives about Chris Rock, and just to try to give some history between Chris Rock and Will Smith, she says that, as we know, a lot has been said about Will and Jada's marriage. A lot has been said about their relationship during the years. People even speculated that they have an open marriage, that they allow each other to sleep around, that they're swingers, all kinds of stuff. So Jada said that in one of these years, she doesn't specify what year, but in one of these years where the tabloids were reporting that her and Will were going to get divorced, she says that Chris Rock called her and straight up asked her out, which is freaking crazy. Like, irony, I don't know. Truth, I don't know. Chris Rock hasn't spoken out about it. Who knows? It could have happened, you know. Before Jada was known as a little crazy, Jada's a baddie. You know what I'm saying? So, who knows? But she says that Chris Rock called her, said, hey, you want to hang out? I heard that you and Will are divorcing. And she's like, what are you talking about, man? That's not happening. And then he was like, oh, my bad. And that he, you know, profusely apologized for asking her out. Didn't mean no disrespect. And that was that. I think one of the biggest bombshells that she has revealed as well in her book, which you probably know about, is that she says that her and Will have been living separately since 2016, right? Which is, it's 2023, right? And she's coming out with this book, and she's saying that they've been separated for the last 7 years. So that means that on Oscar night in 2022, last year, when Will is yelling to Chris Rock, keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth, it's interesting that Will, I feel like even though they might have the relationship that they have, that Will really does see Jada as his wife, and he'll always see Jada as his wife. And so he'll always have to, in his mind or in his perspective, have her back, and make sure that she's respected in any room that she stands in, which, hey, if that's your wife, that's the role, right? Interestingly enough, Jada doesn't seem to have the same feeling as far as Will being her husband. She made it a point that to say that on that night that the slap happened, her and Will Smith, who were seen hand in hand, walking in together, they're sitting next to each other. He refers to her as his wife. She says they didn't attend as husband and wife. That was her thing. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know. Like, I understand that Jada has the right to speak her truth. I do. But at the end of the day, I think as a wife, I don't know, man. It's a balance, right? Because you're still married to this man. You're still saying that you guys do not believe in divorce, so you're not going to get divorced. So this is your life partner. This is somebody who you say you're committed to making it work. And you're over here, I don't know, letting it be known that you don't see yourselves as a husband and wife. And I get that you're separated and all that, and but either you're husband and wife or you're not, whether you're separated or you're not. And I just feel like for some reason Jada just I don't know, like the rules don't necessarily apply to her because she's going through some sort of renaissance in thinking, or she's going through some sort of self-discovery or whatever, you know, which we all go through, and we all will go through multiple times in our life, I'm sure. But, you know, it's just interesting to note her comments on that versus Will's comments, right? And she's also quoted as saying that although she's going to be by Will's side through the Chris Rock scandal, she said, quote, I'm not going to fight this fight for him either, right? Which is, again, I don't know if it's her attitude or her take of things that throws me off, but it throws me off, man. And it just gives me like this feeling of like, dude, like you're not being loyal to your mans, man. You're not being loyal to your guys' covenant, to your guys' thing, to your marriage, and you're letting too much spill out that at the end of the day makes him look like it's a one-sided thing or maybe a lopsided thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? You know, do you agree with my assessment? What are your feelings about it? Or do you feel like, hey, this is her truth and she has a right to say it, and if he's gonna stick by her side, then he's gonna stick by her side? I don't know. Right? I'm curious to know what you guys think on the topic and on what she said so far. Interesting as well. She also says that her and Will have a very transparent relationship. She says that they've eliminated the chance of betrayal because they talk about everything, they work through everything, they don't do anything in the dark, and that if there is something that's lacking for either of them in the relationship, that they're going to talk about it. and that they don't leave the other person in the dark. And of course, I have to bring it up, the entanglement, the 2020 entanglement with August Alsina. I mean, wow. I think we were all like shocked. At first, people thought August Alsina was crazy. He was making shit up. There's no way he slept with Jada. There's no way, he says that he sat down with Will Smith and got Will Smith's permission to sleep with Jada and to have a relationship with Jada. With Jada doesn't confirm nor deny that part, as far as whether Will gave August and her permission or gave August permission for him to pursue Jada. I don't know, or to sleep with her or whatever. But she does refer to August in her book as an entanglee. She does not say his name in the book, but of course we know who she's talking about because August has spilled the entire beans, and he's definitely let it be known that it went down, and that he had a special relationship with Jada, that he fell in love, and that he had an intense love with Jada and for Jada. But Jada makes it very clear that it wasn't an affair, it was an entanglement. So it begs the question, if it's not an affair, then by your guys' rules of how you guys do your relationship, Will must have known. And how crazy is it for you to love a woman? And I'm not saying Will was perfect, but he obviously loves Jada and is devoted to her. For her or her lover, or both. Who knows if they did it together, if they approached Will together, if it was one and then the other, or what, how the situation played out. But it's clear from her logic and from her way of reasoning that she didn't lie to Will and that Will wasn't in the dark, so then therefore he knew. Now, does that mean that they asked him permission? I don't know if he knew before the deed or after the deed, but it is something like that's, you wonder, right? Because it's like, man, either way, it's just a kick to the gut. You know what I mean? Like, your partner is basically telling you that you're not fulfilling them in that way, in that need. And I know Jada says that it wasn't just a sexual thing, that it was deeper, which is even worse. Even worse for the husband, I would say. Like, if it was my wife telling me that shit, man, it's one thing to say, I get, like, both of them are equally bad. Okay, you're physically attracted to somebody, or you want to pursue a physical relationship with somebody, or it's not only physical, it's deeper than that. That would fucking kill me even more. Right? Because as a husband, you think that the relationship you have with your wife is different, that it's on a different level. It's supposed to be, right? But interesting. When they told Will, what they told Will, and obviously they did it. So in between their little circle, in between their little thing, group or whatever, I guess it was like a shared understanding, a known thing that was going on. They definitely don't make it seem like he didn't know, for sure, right? Something else that Jada talks about in her book that I think is pretty interesting is that, when she turned 40, Will threw her a great party. I mean, he put in a lot of effort in having, the musical talent, all her family, all her friends, all the people that really mattered to her in this space to celebrate her 40th birthday. And again, it's not her fault. At the end of the day, if this is how she was feeling, this is how she was feeling. It just, I don't know. It seems like she just takes Will for granted. But anyway, to finish the story, she said she was depressed, and her and Will got in a big fight that day or that night because she felt that what he had done for her on her day was more about him, and was more about him showing himself off to some degree versus doing the party for her. And that's how she felt about it, and she wasn't happy. She wasn't a happy camper. And then she says that right after turning 40, she just got depressed, man, that she was in a depressive episode, and that she really thought about killing herself. And not only thought about it, she even scoped out cliffs off Mulholland Drive, which is by where they're at, to basically stage a car, not really stage a car accident, but get into a car crash and make it look like it was an accident. Basically, that's what she says in her book. She even she just says, you know what, I had a huge wall of depression. She admits that this is something she dealt with growing up, which is crazy because everybody thinks that because you're rich and you have money and you have possessions and material things that you can't get depressed. But I think that that has been disproven time and time again, right? History repeats itself, and history has a lot of famous people who die of depression and suicide. And I'm not going to say maybe not die of depression, but like straight outright. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is, that they have these mental issues and they commit suicide or they OD or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter if you have all the material riches in the world. That's not what our spirit is after. That's not what our soul is after. And it's kind of crazy that we as human race and we have people have not figured that out yet. You know, I don't want to get all into it, but you know, the root of evil is the love of money. The love of money, right? And what people will do for it. That's what the root of evil is. Because every atrocity that is going on right now in the world goes back to that mighty dollar at the end of the day. But anyway, and I just bring that up because just because Will and Jada seem like they had everything doesn't mean that she couldn't be depressed. And I'm not trying to sit here and say that she wasn't depressed. I'm just trying to shine a light on another time where it's just, you know, the effort that her husband made wasn't seen by her. And this is just another example of that. And again, we don't know everything that's going on in their marriage. Has been together a long time. But like I said, go read the book if you want to know every detail that she's really ready to give, right? She shared that for her severe depression and anxiety, and hopefully I pronounced this right. She used ayahuasca, which is a plant-based psychedelic drug that is usually brewed into teas. She says that her son, Jaden, is some sort of ayahuasca like coach, and that he is certified to help guide in the hallucinations that follow after you intake this drug. So she says that her, Will, and her kids, only when they were adults, have used this drug together. I mean, I'll leave that there. You do and think what you will with that tidbit. Again, it's not like smoking weed with your kids. Not to say that's even better, but straight doing psychedelic drugs. But again, they don't live the normal life that we do. And, you know, I think, what are you going to say? What are you going to do with that? It already happened, which is crazy. But she does reveal that. All right. Next up is her relationship with Pac, which is something that I've always known about as a Tupac fan. Tupac aficionada. I know a lot of Tupac facts. And so, of course, I've always known of his love for Jada. And she's never really spoken about it until now. I mean, there's a couple of interviews from back in the day when Pac died. One specific that I remember her being in, where she just talks about the connection that they had. And this is a young Jada, man. This is in 97, 96, because Pac died in 96. So within the first 2 years of his death, she gave an interview or two about it. And it's just, it's obviously a younger Jada, different Jada, but you definitely sense the connection that they had. You know, of course, her and Tupac met at the Baltimore School of the Arts. They connected very deeply and very intensely over their love, not only their love for performing arts and their skill, but their rough upbringing, right? They both grew up in the streets. They both grew up in an environment where drug dealers were the goal, right? Their affluence and their power, perceived power in the community, gave them the the legendary status. They're the ones that were looked up to. That's who they wanted to be like, as far as like, dang, those are the people that got the money. Those are the people that got the power. Those are the people that can run shit. However, both of them had a love for performing arts, and so because they went to this school, I think that was part of the reason why they both stayed off the streets to some degree. Now, Jada almost became a queen pin. That's a story for another episode. But she did run the streets of Baltimore. She did, sell dope. And she almost made a different life choice. But she chose the other way. And thankfully for her, right, she did. And it worked out. With Pac, Pac used to always say that he had sponsors, that he had people in the street that saw the talent in him and saw the potential in him and didn't let him get caught up in drugs. That they would give him money, they would do what they could to keep him off the streets and to a certain degree, and let him know that dealing drugs and being part of a gang and all this other shit wasn't going to lead to nothing good, and that he had more potential than that. But yeah, Tupac professes love for Jada many, many times. That's something that she has bragging rights over, man. Like, so does Kadada, Kadada Jones. But Pac loved Jada, and if you have any doubt of it, I want to share something with you. It's a little treat from his book, The Rose That Grew from Concrete. And for those of us who are OG Tupac fans, you already know what it is. It is beat up. Corners are all jacked. I've had this book for, what am I, 37? I've had this book since, I'll tell you, there's 2 different cell phone numbers on here. Please return to Amelia, like somebody was going to return it and shit. I don't remember the year, but it says SG and number 32. So I think senior year tops. So that's 2004. Do the math. We're in 2023. That's 18 years. 19 years, but I'm old. And so this book has been through a lot, but I just wanted to share with you guys the poem that Pac wrote for Jada, because I think it is fair, and it's only fair to hear his words about Jada, right? And it's crazy because when he wrote this, he was in his early, I'd say either early 20s or late teens. I don't really know when he wrote this poem specifically, but look. All right, so I'm gonna read it for you guys. It's called Jada. All right. You are the omega of my heart, the foundation for my conception of love. When I think of what a black woman should be, it is you that I first think of. You will never fully understand how deeply my heart feels for you. I worry that we'll grow apart and I'll end up losing you. You bring me to climax without sex, and you do it all with regal grace. You are my heart in human form, a friend I could never replace. It's crazy, man. That's crazy. To have a legend say that about you, right? So there it is. That's how they both felt about each other, Jada admits that it was just an intense friendship, that there was no sexual or physical chemistry between them at all. She says that multiple times. Jada admits that when Pac was in Rikers Island in 95, that he asked her to marry him. And of course she said no. She said that he was in bad shape, which those of us, again, who are OG Tupac fans know this. I've seen a couple interviews, one particular one, where he talks about how he feels now, and he's been in prison. I think it was like 9 months at the time, detoxed, and you start to see who's really your friend and who's really not. And one of the things that I always remember him saying is that, I'm not going to quote it word for word, but he pretty much says that his closest homies did him in. He goes, fear is not stronger than love, is how he starts. He goes, fear is not stronger than love. All the love I gave did nothing when the fear came for these people. He goes, I didn't take care of people's kids. I bought people houses. I did all these things, and everyone still turned their back on me. And so I can just imagine the mind fuck that he was going through. And then on top of that, he's getting his head clear because he's not smoking, right? He's detoxing. So the mindset of man, I can trust no one. And he said that, trust no one. That is something that he was in Rikers dealing with, and he came out of Rikers with that mindset. So I believe that he was in rough shape. And she says that she knew that Pac would have married her and divorced her in the same freaking day. She goes, he would have married me and divorced me as soon as he left Rikers. You know, he just needed a rock. He wanted something firm, something solid and a foundation while he was in there dealing with all that bullshit and dealing with rumors and motherfuckers trying to kill him and all this other shit. So obviously he got shot 5 times before he went in there. So Pac was going through a lot of shit, and people that are close to him, Idi Amin, you know, the Outlaws, they've all talked about how during this time he was just all fucked up and he didn't know who to trust. And Jada was one of those steady things that he wanted to hold on to in his life. You know, Jada went on the art of dialogue podcast and talked about how her and Tupac were soulmates. You know, and again, say what you want. I mean, she explains it very well. She says that soulmates don't necessarily mean that you're the romantic relationship and connection. It's deeper than that. So she feels like friends can be soulmates, kids can be your soulmates. You know, I don't know. What do you guys think? You know, I don't know. I don't know about your friends being your soulmates. I haven't experienced. I've experienced sisterhood, friends that are turned into family, but soul connections with that I would call soulmate over my spouse. I don't know. But hey, you know what? I haven't lived that much life. I've never been married, so I don't know. You know, my opinion is that your soulmate should be the person that you're spending your life with, but obviously everyone is free to have their own thought process and everybody's free for their own opinion, and she feels different, you know. And she says that, you know, even though people don't believe it, you know, contrary to popular belief, her and Pac were not physically attracted to each other. She says that they kissed once and it was disgusting, that it was like brother and sister kissing. They just had a deep love of similar things: art, literature, poetry, music, acting, you know, performing arts. And they understood each other on so many levels, but they were not attracted to each other, and they didn't have that kind of sexual and physical connection that you need, you know. And that around that time, about 95-ish, she started dating Will. And, you know, obviously it was clear that if she's dating somebody else and not Pac, that she could have had him if she wanted him, right? They could have had each other if they wanted each other, but interestingly enough, that's not something that was in the cards for their relationship. She also says that on this podcast, she also mentioned how she feels like her and Pac were soulmates in many lives, not just this one. Which, hey, if she's on that frequency and that's how she thinks and that's how she feels, well, you know, can't nobody tell her anything about it. At the end of the day, it is Jada's truth. It is Jada's story. You know, it's just interesting, right? After these years where, you know, you idolize certain things, right? J. Cole said it, right? Just like Will and Jada love, you know, and then you realize that that's really not the kind of love that they have, or that's not the kind of idyllic relationship that they have had, that it is in total contrast to what we idolized or we looked up to as a strong black marriage and a strong black family, right? Or does it not change anything for you? And you're just kind of like, eh, they're just a little weird. They're just a little eclectic. They're just a little out there with what they feel is a family and what they feel is marriage. But at the end of the day, they are committed to each other. I mean, as crazy as it is to have that kind of arrangement and to have that kind of connection, they do have it, right? They have been separated for 7 years, but they're not divorced. And they have made it very, very clear that they're not going to get divorced. that that's not something that they're going to do. You wonder how is Will reacting to this? Well, Will, of course, class act. He sent an email, which was kind of weird, but whatever. I guess that's how they do it now. Email to the New York Times, and he said, quote, he said that these revelations woke him up. He realized that she had lived life more on the edge and that she is more resilient, clever, and compassionate than he'd ever understood. He continues to say, when you've been with someone for more than half your life, a sort of emotional blindness sets in. And you can all too easily lose your sensitivity to their hidden nuances and subtle beauties. Which, did you expect Will Smith to say anything less classy? No, I didn't. Will Smith's not going to dog his wife in the media. That's what he's not going to do. He's going to let her be her, and he's going to love her in public, and whatever happens in private, he's not going to be the one that divvies that up. Which, again, this is why I love Will. And I wish a different wife for him, but who are we, right? Maybe he's happy with the one he has, but it's just kind of like, damn, dude. You just wish that she didn't feel that need to share all of this more than whatever's going to take for their marriage to get back into good shape. I mean, 7 year separation, when do you call it quits? Right? Or those of you guys that have been married 40, 50 years, has there been a 10-year period where you guys don't talk to each other, where you guys are separated, you guys are divorced, or not divorced, but separated, living separately, living separate lives, allowing yourselves the grace and the permission to do as you please and kind of act like that marriage doesn't exist to a certain degree? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I've never been married. I've know a lot of married people, and I just don't know a lot that would say, you know what, we're going to give each other 7 year space. I think after a year or two, you'd probably have to feel like you have to make a decision to move forward with your life. But, you know, they don't feel like that. So what do you guys think of Jada's revelations? What do you think of what she shared? Is there such thing as sharing too much? But again, they've been married for 20 plus years, and whatever works for them this far has worked. They're still together, and I wish them the best of luck. Thank you guys so much for coming back. I hope this was an interesting topic. What do you guys think? Please share, like, subscribe to my channel. Share this with all your friends, and I really do appreciate you coming back. All right, I hope I kept you a little interested for the last 32 minutes. Thank you so much. I appreciate the love. I really do. Thank you guys for coming back. I have something special cooking up for you guys, a guest that I think we're going to have a phenomenal time, a fun time, a great conversation. So I'll be working on that. But thank you guys so much. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Share some love and give me some comments down there. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. All right. Peace.